We are moving on to the last game we're going to talk about on this show, Texas A&M and South Carolina. I think these are two teams kind of headed maybe in opposite directions. The Aggies maybe quietly, maybe don't get the same kind of fanfare as the Georgia and the Alabama and maybe even the Texas, even though they haven't looked as good as Texas A&M, but they've quietly been building momentum. And I think South Carolina's just struggling, all the way around. A&M's defensive front is elite, so you would think would control the line of scrimmage. And, I don't know. I think this is an interesting game, and I think there's so much pressure on A&M and almost none on South Carolina. And is it a trap game, Will?
It could be. I don't think it is, though. I think A&M is the best team in the country. I think they should be number one because they're fourth in the SEC in total offense. Carolina is dead last. A&M is scoring 18 more points per game than Carolina is, and I kind of would think that trap spot, the pressure could get to you. We're in a day and age where A&M could lose this game and be totally fine, right? Because they'd still have a loss, so all of a sudden getting to Atlanta's a little harder. But A&M's not dropping out of the playoff for losing this game. It'd be a really bad loss, and people would say they should, but there's less pressure on them this year than there would have been even 2 years ago. There's only 4 teams in the playoff. So there is a trap element. But like you said, Carolina is just a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to be awesome. I was so high on Souls coming into the year. The whole thing is just broken. They don't really do anything well offensively. The one thing that they do well is they pick people off pretty well. They have 9 picks on the year, which is high for 4th in the SEC. So that's kind of their route, right? If A&M wants to go explosive passes sometimes, if they're able to jump some of those routes and just pick Reed off once or twice, that's really their only way. But I think A&M knows that they can just lean on these guys and play it safe, still take some shots to their guys. But I do think A&M has their way in this one.
If A&M wins, they are basically a college playoff lock, right? Is that a fair statement, TJ?
Yeah, I can't see that because so who does A&M have next week?
Samford.
Yeah, so they're not losing that, right? And then they could lose by 40 to Texas, and they're not getting dropped out at 11-1. So yeah, this is a college football playoff clincher. We talked about Ole Miss in the first segment. So is their game, right? If they win this, I think they could lose the Egg Bowl and probably still get in. Mm-hmm. So, or if they win this, they could lose the Egg Bowl and still get in. So yeah, I think it's the same thing with A&M here, And so when you typically might expect like kind of a trap game feel, like I think that's all the motivation you need is, boys, you win this and you're going to the college football playoff. And, football's weird and weird things happen. And we haven't had one of those chaos Saturdays in November yet. And maybe that's the one we get it where Will's right on those last 2 games and A&M gets knocked off and Pitt beats Notre Dame and just all this crazy stuff happens. But at the same time, man, it would really surprise me if they were able to do it this one. It felt like they gave everything they had in that Bama game, and they had them right. They had a great shot to go win that game, and they just couldn't get it done. And I just felt like that was so deflating. Maybe if they had proven it to you there that they could get it done, you'd have a little bit more faith. I think this is a really tall hill for them to go and climb. Add to the fact that it's on the road and you don't get the Williams-Brice effect and you're playing in front of 100,000 people and all this stuff. Like, I think it would take a generationally bad game from Marcel Reed, which he looked more accurate last week against, I know that he hasn't had like the highest accuracy this year, but he looked really good against Missouri and he was more accurate. And I would think you'd need a really bad game from him, but I don't even think you have to lean on that. Like Will said, like you can take a couple of shots, but I just think you have to kind of get out of your way and let South Carolina implode, which they've done that several times this year. And as long as you do that, you'll be fine.
Sorry guys, I just got a text message that my sister's in the hospital having her baby, so I was a little distracted
that
there.
Kid can wait. Tell that kid to chill out.
Right? I'm like, oh my gosh, this is okay. So yay, I'm about to be an aunt for like the bajillionth time. Very exciting, but okay. So how big of an upset? I know you said Texas A&M is the best team in the country, Will, and that this is not going to be a trap game because they're not going to be caught off guard. But let's say it happens. How big of an upset is it for Shane Beamer and Sellers, and could it completely change the narrative of South Carolina's season? I think, a lot of people are kind of waiting for the shoe to drop. Like, is Beamer's time at South Carolina coming to an end? Does this save him? Does this rejuvenate this program? Does this outlook just look different?
I think it does. And I mean, you totally described me just now. Like, I was kind of waiting on Beamer to maybe go after the Bama game. They fired Mike Shula instead, which I think bought Beamer some more time. If you win this game, you can all of a sudden go say, look, we're still right there. Things just didn't go well for us earlier in the year. We let the Bama game slip away. If we had won that and this game, this is entirely different. So, I mean, you saw Carolina turn around late last year. This is not the same situation at all as last year, but I mean, we know the type of caliber that Carolina does have. Like, they have Nick Harbor, receiver who no one can cover one-on-one. You have an alien at quarterback in Sellers. You have Dylan Shirt off the edge. Like, you have those individual pieces where if they're all on in the same game, dude, they can really beat anybody, really by themselves. So it's not impossible. I'd give it a 5% chance, but I do think you're right. Like, if Carolina does go win this game, all of a sudden everyone can just kind of take a deep breath and is like, look, we had a second-year quarterback this year. We didn't
Yeah.
have any weapons out wide. It just didn't work out. But
Yeah.
Stewart will be back. Sellers will be back. You'll have all these guys coming back who are those aliens that you can kind of build off and say, now we get more talent around them. We can have a way better 2026.
All right, TJ, who wins the battle between A&M's front seven and South Carolina's offensive line? Or is this just a silly question because this has already been decided?
Yeah, I'd take A&M. I'd take A&M's front seven against most teams in the league right now. And so, yeah, I have a hard time seeing South Carolina keeping Sellers clean.
Yeah.
He is a magician, like Will said, or an alien, whatever word you use. So I'm sure he'll get out of some stuff. But man, the hits over and over again, I think that's going to play a factor. I don't expect this to be super competitive into the fourth quarter, maybe not even the second half. We'll see. If it was at home for South Carolina, I'd feel better, but I think A&M's front is just going to be too much here.
Okay, what's the key matchup to watch? Well,
I think it's Carolina's secondary because that is the one thing where I think they could get some wins because they have good corners. And A&M's receivers, Craver, Concepcion, they're great and very explosive. But if Carolina, all you have to do is win 3 specific reps and go get that ball, and you can totally change the entire game. So I think the matchup is, can Carolina's DBs capitalize on what they're able to do, and can they keep those receivers contained to the tune of we can turn this guy over once or twice, and all of a sudden A&M is forced to play like this is a big time game as opposed to being able to be comfortable, be calm, and just let their better talent do it. So I think it's Carolina's secondary.
All right, give me your score predictions. Start with you.
Yeah, it's not good. I have A&M like 31-14. I would do it higher, but I do think the Aggies just kind of let off the gas a little bit at the end. But it is worth noting, like, the best offense A&M's played in conference is probably Arkansas, and with Taylor Green and those guys, they give up 42 there. So it does seem like when you have these types of dynamic playmakers, even if it's just 3 guys total, as long as they're in different spots of the field, all doing what they can do, you can score on these guys. I don't really see it happening because I think at that point, Arkansas was still playing. I'm a little worried Carolina's just kind of obligated to fly out there this week. So yeah, I think it's loosely possible, but I'll go 31-14 A&M.
TJ, the line is 19.5 in favor of the Aggies. What's your score prediction?
Yeah, 37 to, let's say they cover 37-14. I'll say they cover fairly easily. South Carolina gets a late touchdown to make it look better.
I wrote down 34-14, so kind of right between the two of you guys. I think A&M easily takes care of business here too. And Will, I kind of agree. I think Texas A&M may be the best team in the country, and I feel like I say that as a person that's watched Georgia against my team. We've watched Miami, who obviously have fallen off a cliff now, but at the time was considered one of the best teams in the league. So I think I agree. I think Texas A&M may be the best team in the country, but you got to win the games you're supposed to win, and that's what Saturday is.